Hey, what is going on, Jen? Thank you for taking a moment to join me. So you just wrapped up your webinar. How'd it go?
Yeah, it went great. I ran it twice and then I did a Q&A call, just like you said. And it was an awesome success. Not only, I felt like this is the first time I've ever felt confident hosting and leading a webinar. And I've been in business for 7 years, so that's saying a lot. I have done a lot of webinars, but before I just like pieced them together and I never really felt like I knew exactly what to say and why saying that would lead into the offer and people would be excited for the offer. But I felt really, really energized on both of the calls and people stuck around. And just like, I mean, you were like, they're going to be asking in the chat, how do I get that? How do I get that? And they were, and it was really exciting. And I had to, fight everything not to like answer and be like, ooh, I'm about to tell you, let that suspense build. So that was really, really fun. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me, when you reached out to me for like, you were like, hey, I want to build a webinar. What were you like in your head? What were you struggling with that you thought I was going to be able to help you with? Like, what were you really looking for help with?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The truth is I saw you teaching a little bit about webinars at an event. And before that, I mentioned a little bit, I had really just been piecing together what I saw other people doing, or I think I went through one other kind of, home study type of course where, you don't have that one-on-one support. And it went okay, but I never felt fully confident. So I heard you speaking and you were just saying those kind of to me, it's like those subtle things that only someone who's in the work could really know, could really say about how many open loops to have, how to craft the offer, and then connecting the story not only to the offer, but then to the teaching points. And it was just really, I was like, that's how I like to think. And he's thinking like that. I need to learn that. And I also wanted that one-on-one support. Because like I said, like going through the courses, I'm actually normally a fast learner. I pick things up really, really quickly. But for this, because it's telling stories and connecting all the dots, I really wanted to think it through with an expert.
Awesome. Was there anything that you were, we worked together, you put together an awesome webinar. I gave you a little bit of feedback. Was there anything that came out of it that you were like really surprised at? Any like either crazy aha moments or something that went completely different from the way you thought it was going to?
Oh, were there any parts that went completely different? Yes. And I'll tell you that in just a second. It has almost nothing to do with you.
Okay.
But I also want to say, after almost every one of our touch points where I got to either you were helping with the story, or when I was just sending you the recording of me running through it and you giving me feedback, almost after every call, I would go back to my husband and be like, this man is a genius. Just this one little tip and it's so much better. And so I just always felt like I had made the right decision to get the expert support. And even though my husband, he understands the power of webinars, and he wasn't on the call, but he was like, I'm so happy to hear that. And so it was cool that I was just so excited after every little lesson that you gave me. I would go and implement it right away. And I could feel the shift in the desire for wanting whatever I was about to offer, even just down to like those subtle things that you gave me. I was like, wow, that is amazing. Because now I want my offer. And that's how, as a copywriter, I know when I want it, I know I'm doing my job. So that was really great. And go ahead.
Well, I think one of the things that I hear a lot, which you just touched on, was people love, like, I watch your webinar, I watch your delivery, and then I give like line by line feedback. And it's those small little things. Zig Ziglar says, sales is getting people, transferring your certainty and excitement about your offer to somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think having people show up with the confidence
Yeah.
of like delivery. Cause I remember you working on your hero's journey story and you're like, I want it to be perfect. So I'll let you, I don't
Mhm.
know if you have any thoughts on that, but I know like that was somewhere we spent a decent amount of time working,
Yeah.
kind of tweaking. So did you have any like major takeaways with your story that you were like, oh my God?
Yes. So I already had my, I would say I had most of my hero story. I knew what it was. But I also knew, I told you right off the bat, I know it's too long. I know there's things I need to either take out or I couldn't quite put my finger on how to actually deliver it. And so for me, the takeaway was that just the shifts of, well, I already knew I already knew it was too long. I already knew it needed to be edited. So just having you like confirm that and then on top of it, tell me what to say instead was great. That was my big takeaway was, like if you go to, I don't know if someone's watching this and they're like, oh yeah, I already do know what my story's supposed to be, but it's not converting or it's not compelling people the way I know it should. I'm like, then talk to Steve because I knew I was in the same boat. I knew, but I didn't know how to make it happen. Yeah.
How did it go with people? Because I mean, we had some conversations around you were like, how do I make it more interactive? How do I get people to
Yeah.
talk to me? And like, I don't want to feel like I'm talking at people.
Yeah.
I know you said in the beginning to this, like people were actually answering in the chat. I think it's like, you're on the right track when instead of just saying, hey, type yes in the chat box for blah, if instead people are like, tell me more, tell me how
Yeah.
I get that. Do you have
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Um, and like, how did that go on the webinar? I want to hear like you talk about that a little bit more. Cause that was something
Yeah.
that's when you know you're going to get sales. The people who are like, how do I do that? And you're like, and you just keep talking, right? That's the hardest thing.
It is. And, I didn't see so I had people commenting in the chat. There wasn't a ton during the teaching point. And the way that I took that was actually they were so in with what I was saying that they couldn't even be bothered to pick up their hands. Like they were taking notes. Like at the end of each webinar, people were holding up like pages and pages of notes that they had taken. And I was like, I don't know what pages you just wrote down, but this is amazing that they were so in on what I was saying. And that really came from leading up with the story, making sure they really saw the big aha that they were going to get. And then, so once we transition into the teaching points, I mean, I remember saying, you gave me one line, you were like, talk about how you realized you needed a template for putting this together. And so you created it and then just move on with the story. And I remember saying that, and I could see on the screen, someone wrote that down. Someone wrote down needed template. Like I could see them right. And I was like, that's cool. They wrote that down. Like so they didn't put it in the chat, but they were putting it down like, okay, I need a template for that. So that was really, really neat. And then some of the times in the chat, they were saying, hey, can I get the webinar templates? Because that was more of a specific type of template. But that was really, really neat.
Awesome. I mean, when you do it right, it's so much fun because you can see people doing that stuff. Something that you came to the table with as well. You were like, I'm worried that I'm going to teach too much. I'm kind of known for like teaching. And I told you like, strip it way down. Like we kept stripping it down and you were like, is this enough? And then you just said like, they held up pages and pages of notes.
Yeah.
So I think if you wouldn't have had my objective feedback, do you think you would have taught 5 times?
I would have taught too much, 100%. Or I would have just tried to swing to the other side. And I would have cut out the important bits, like the story bits or the seeding of the bonuses or the things that we're about to talk about in the offer. So it was just really nice that I felt like I taught just the right amount. In fact, the first time it was a little bit longer than the second time. The second time I even revamped it before I went live again, took out some more. I didn't tell you this, but I actually took like maybe 2 or 3 big chunks out just to like take out some time because I ended up going a lot longer than I wanted to on the first one. So yeah, and that seemed to only make it more compelling. was teaching less. And it was more about teach less, but make sure that they really get the things that you're teaching versus fill them up with so much stuff and then make them an offer. It was a very different perspective shift.
Awesome. So that you segued very nicely into my last question was how, because a lot of people struggle with offers, right? They either think they have an offer together or they're like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
How do you feel like with the offer that you created, with the feedback that I gave you on it? Like, obviously it converted really well. Just, I want to hear your talk around that. Cause I think a lot of people are like, well, I need to have a really good offer and I don't even know what to do.
Yes. So I may have you ask that question one more time, because right now I'm wanting to say I had on the first webinar, I had a 10% conversion rate. And on the second webinar, I had a 14% conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was your question?
Just around like building your offer. Cause I know when we started, you like had an outline together. You were like, these are the things that I'm thinking about. And we kind of went through it and you were like, well, I don't want to what do I put here? And how do I structure it so that people actually fall into it? And they're like, yes, I have to have that. So we talked about the open loops and how to build some stuff in the front, but the
offer itself.
Yeah.
So that was really fun because, and eye-opening. Because like you said, I already had a strong idea of what I wanted to offer, but you helped me kind of think through, take out that one because one of them, it was unrelated. And you're like, that would be a whole nother element of teaching in order to even offer that bonus. So I would just take that out. So I took that out. It was also nice when you said, before you give the first price drop, it should be 5 minutes where you're talking about your offer. And you were like, but Jen, you talk so much, I'll give you 6 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to do it in 4.5 minutes. And I did do it in 4.5 minutes. And so that was really cool to think of it instead of in terms of words, because I'm a copywriter, I thought of it in terms of time. So then as a creative person, I was like, okay, my limit is time here. I have to give it 1 or 2 powerful sentences for each thing. And then I can go on to describe the rest of the next part of the offer. So that was really cool to hear more of the strategy thinking behind that.
That is the timeline that I have. Like, this is how long you get on the intro. This is how long you get on your hero's journey. This is how long you get on your intro to your teaching point. This is the transition. This is teaching points. This is your offer. I think a lot of people find that really helpful because you have to have a structure. Otherwise, we've all seen the people, like, we love to give value. So we're just like, I'm going to dump as much value. And then it's a 3-hour webinar. There was one guy I worked with that came to me with a 4.5-hour webinar and he couldn't figure out why no one was buying.
Wow.
But same thing. Anyway, I'm glad that I knew that it was going to be a success. You're awesome. You know how to talk to people and you're passionate about what you do. I'm just glad we were able to get it done in a short time frame in a way that made you shine and made you feel confident. So moving forward, the next time that you have to build a webinar, do you think it's going to be amazing?
Oh, well, I feel like my webinar is built. I plan on taking this webinar and taking this course and just leveraging it and scaling it. But whereas before I kept creating new programs, selling it, creating another thing, selling it, creating another thing, I finally feel like I have an engine that I can run I have a really fast car that I can ride around the track, and I can get the lap that I want. And then I can just keep improving it versus, I need a different track and a different car and I should have whatever it is. So, I like my fast car and I plan on driving faster with it.
Awesome. One more question. If anyone watching this wants to talk to you, are you cool with that?
Sure.
Where can they find you at?
Yes. As of this video, you can email me at Jenn, Jenn, at jennmayers.com, JENNMAYERS.com. In the coming months, it will be shifting to my new name, Jenn Vaidya. So I will make sure to get Steve that updated email for you when that happens.
Awesome. Jenn, thank you so much. You were super fun to work with. I always love seeing you and your smile and your amazing energy and your unicorn. Show the unicorn.
Unicorn.
one of your clients built that for you, which is awesome.
Yeah, they drew it for me in the back of my live event and handed it to me at the end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenn. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out to Jenn. She's a real live client and she's awesome.
I'm a real girl. Yeah.
Just don't want anyone to think that this is a staged interview.